So I want to talk to you today a little bit about our soccer performance program, and the reason I want to do this is, number one, to kind of explain how we work with youth footballers, but also to give a little bit of an insight into how I feel coaches or trainers working with kids should operate. And you know, if you're a parent, I think you might find this quite useful because it will give you a little insight into our thought process and how we work with the kids that come into our training programs. It starts, okay, usually people ring us up and ask about the training programs that we run. So the starting point with the whole process is obviously that we talk, and during that kind of talk we'll sit down with the parent and the player together, and we'll talk about objectives. All right, and we're talking about objectives from the player's perspective and also the parents. The next step from there obviously is that we start to learn, okay, and we need to learn as much as we can as coaches and trainers working with kids, because we can help these footballers better. And again, we're talking to the player about, you know, what it is they want to get from a training program, and we're talking to the parent about, you know, their opinion and their viewpoint. You know, during those conversations we talk about things like the position the player plays in, any injury history, external feedback. So, you know, if any other coaches have given them feedback of things they need to work on, because it's important for us, because we see ourselves as part of the whole process. The next thing then we're talking about is bringing players in for an assessment, and during that assessment we're talking about, you know, players' mobility, their strengths, weaknesses, and we're looking to identify any gaps, basically, because that's kind of the area that you need to fill, literally, within a training program. And we would also run a number of tests, and again it depends on the players, you know, positions they play, maybe what kind of tests we'd run, or where they're at, you know, the age, their ability. There's different levels. The next thing then, once we've done all of that, we've kind of learned a lot now, we've done some assessments, we'll put a program together. And it's really important that any program that you put together for players, you know, there's some kind of a structure to it, some kind of plan. You know, it has to be geared towards reaching players' objectives, and you know, there has to be consideration for what the player wants and what the player needs. You know, so players will come into us, for example, and say, I want to work upper body strength, but we as coaches and trainers know that players need something that's a bit more complete than just working on upper body strength. So we'll give them a little bit of both, because we want the players to be happy with their training and feel like they get what they want, and making sure then as coaches we're doing our jobs. The other piece then, once we've started to kind of train players, is that we have to regularly review things, you know. So you know, during the review process we look to adjust anything within the training program. We'll talk to the parents and players again, you know, we'll give them feedback, they'll give us feedback. We'll update players on their progress, and then we might look to retest players as part of a reassessment, you know. So that's kind of in this area. The piece that I'd leave last, because I think it's one of the most important pieces of the puzzle when it comes to working with kids, and particularly youth footballers in this country, is expectations. What expectations are we setting for the players and the parents? Because, you know, let's be honest, football in this country is very competitive, and there's not really a lot at the end of you know, a player's development cycle to offer. You know, football in this country still isn't fully professional. I mean, we can say it is, but it isn't. And you know, most kids who go to England don't tend to actually amount to becoming professional footballers for the rest of their lives. The percentages are quite small. So we're honest with parents and players, you know, about, you know, any expectations that they have, because the players are really ambitious, parents are ambitious. So we try and set realistic expectations, and we will match expectations with the commitment of players, you know, in terms of what type of training they do with us, with their football teams, what level they're at. You know, we'll also be honest with kids, because kids come into us, particularly Irish kids, and you know, they all seem to want to compete against, you know, bigger kids, and those kids tend to be from different countries. So we try to set the expectations there to say, look, you know, Irish kids are naturally smaller, you know, they're shorter, stockier, whatever way you want to look at it, and that's obviously a generalisation, but that's usually the case. You know, we've different, you know, strengths and different weaknesses compared to kids from different countries, so that's something that we talk about. And that's kind of the whole process right there that we follow. And it's something, as a parent of a youth footballer, I think you should consider that kind of stuff. If you bring your son or your daughter to any kind of training program, even football teams, I think this kind of process should be followed. If clubs and coaches and trainers are talking about sort of being professional and delivering professionalism in terms of the sport, I think this is the kind of approach that should be taken. It's the approach we take, and it's something that we find is very successful, and it's the reason that we find that lots of youth footballers want to come and train with us, and it's the reason why we have a great relationship with the parents of those kids. If you've any questions on any of this stuff, or you'd like any help in general, just drop us a message and let us know if this was useful, or if there's any unanswered questions. I'll get back to you straight away.